It is January, we've been doing transfers, and I've had a few unhappy players to deal with, one of which could be on his way out of the club, and he is on this screen right now. That is right, XHAKA potentially leaving the club to Real Betis for £20.5 million. The 30-year-old requested to leave the club, told me that he felt like he'd achieved everything that he could. I'll be honest, the timing of it felt a little bit weird, but at the same time, if I do decide to cash in on him, today we've got to try and replace him. The transfer window closes in 3 days' time. We've already done a load of deals since you were last here. We'll talk about those in just a moment, but before we do anything else, let's run that intro. Yes, folks, how is it going? And welcome back to the Arsenal Let's Play. Today, it is the January transfer window. To kick things off today, the FA Cup 4th round against Sheffield United. This game holds some significance, which we'll talk about in a moment. And then after that, we have the small matter of Man City away. A Man City team who are top of the table, but they're not doing so hot. You can see, looking at things, we are even on points with them with a game less played. If we can win this game against Man City later on today, we'll go top of the league with a game in hand. That said, away from home, it's probably not going to be that easy. Now, of course, last episode we did the World Cup as well as the end of kind of the first half of the season. We've had a little bit of a busy January and I have addressed some problem areas. First and foremost, though, let's talk about the players who have left us, starting with Sambi Lokonga, of course, a player sent off in that Belgium World Cup quarter-final. Off the back of that, somehow, still managed to sell him. Only £15 million received, but I have signed a replacement. He wasn't happy at the club. He wasn't really playing all that regularly, and in the end, I decided just to cash in on the 23-year-old. The other man who has left the club is Rob Holding, a bit of a fan favourite I appreciate at Arsenal, but ultimately the 27-year-old was on the fringes of the first team, having signed Diakaibi earlier on in the season to play centre-back when Saliba got injured, and now with Saliba back fit and ready to play, we basically had a spare extra centre-back, and Holding wanted to leave the club. He wasn't getting first-team football anyway, with Saliba coming back from injury. It just made sense to cash in on him. That said, I was able to use the funds we got from him to address the right-back position and get a little bit more coverage at centre-back. So both these transfers maybe look weird on the face of it. When I show you the replacements, all will become clear. So first and foremost, let's talk about our new centre mid. Of course, Lokonga's left the club. We have picked up Andre Santos from Vasco. This man, if we just give him a quick comparison with Lokonga, perhaps not quite as good technically, but a far more defensive option. Very, very good physicals. And you might have spotted it. This man is 18 years old. He is young. He has potential. I think he could be a future titan of this team. Of course, we have this little Brazilian core going on. He is going to add to it. And the other man we've picked up, I talked about the Rob Holding replacement being able to play right back. I really like this signing. Mukiele has joined us from PSG. Of course, in real life, he's left Leipzig to go to PSG. He was transfer listed in January. They signed him for 8.5 million. I've decided to dip our toes into the transfer market and spend 13.25 million on him. Ultimately, he comes in as a player who is consistent, loves important matches. He can play right back. He can play centre back. I just think it's a very sensible signing, and in a weird way, and I don't mean this to cause any offence to Arsenal fans, I feel like Mukiele is kind of a quite Arsenal signing as well. So with those transfer dealings done, you can see we do have a little bit of money in the transfer budget. There is a little bit of excess wage budget. If I do decide to sell XHAKA, we are going to have £20.5 million to sign a new centre mid. We have been looking at some options. We are going to talk about them after we take on Sheffield United. Now, there is a reason we're doing the Sheffield United game today, and you might have remembered last episode we left things with Sheffield United being our first game after the World Cup. Here is that game. We lost 1-0. Yeah, that's right. We are out of the Carabao Cup having been knocked out by championship opposition. I want revenge against them today. In this game here, we lost 1-0. If history repeats itself and we lose against them again now, it's going to be a bit embarrassing. The good news is, since that Sheffield United game, we have been unbeaten. In fact, the only game we dropped points in was a 2-2 draw away against West Ham. In this game, we scored in the 82nd and 86th minute. I thought we'd done an amazing comeback, and then XHAKA scored in the 93rd minute. Extra time goal. It hurt. It pained me. To be honest, we probably didn't deserve to win the game. A draw, not a bad result in the grand scheme of things. After that, we absolutely demolished Crystal Palace, a 4-0 win. Jesus getting on the score sheet as well as XHAKA and XHAKA. And into the month of January, we've gone where things have been largely plain sailing. A 3-0 win against Wolves was really, really good. They are a team that really impressed the first half of the season. So I was a little bit nervy going into this game, but I need not be. We got off to a good little start. Somewhat scrappy goal fell to Jesus just before half-time. Off the back of that, into the second half we went and we were able to score a set piece that wasn't fully dealt with, you'll see here. We just kept it in their half. Odegaard ghosting inside, tucked it into the bottom corner. And from there, a rather fortuitous own goal. One of those ones where the defender has to do something, otherwise we score anyway. In the end, though, he did put the ball into his own net. That was 3-0. After that result against Wolves, another clean sheet as we beat Stockport 4-0 in the FA Cup. Probably should be beating Stockport, really. And from there, we were able to beat Leicester 1-0. Again, Odegaard chipping in with a really crucial goal. He's actually been adding some goals to his repertoire as of late. He wasn't getting a whole lot first half of the season. Since the break, he's come back a goal scorer. Also, you might have spotted it here. His leadership has gone up massively. I read the comments. Arsenal fans are not happy about the fact that Odegaard's leadership is only 8 in the database. And I'm inclined to agree. I'm pleased to report, and I don't feel like this is something that would have happened last year in Football Manager, but his leadership has actually gone up significantly. It's up to 10 already. And to be fair, across the board, we're seeing some really good improvements, I feel like, with him, which can only really be a good thing for the future. Most recently, we beat Newcastle 4-1. A good result here. We dropped points against them in the away from home game earlier on the year. To get the win here was really, really nice. Andreas having a great performance. Tomiyasu at right back got a 10.0. It's like he knew that I was about to sign Mukiele. Yeah, he got a hat-trick of assists in this one from right back. If we just compare Tomiyasu with Mukiele, you can see here, there's not a great deal to separate them. Tomiyasu definitely has the advantage in the mentals and the technicals, but actually Mukiele's passing is a little bit better, and I do like Mukiele's physicals, particularly his pace as a wing-back is nice. But given the fact that Tomiyasu just got a hat-trick of assists, it's kind of difficult to justify dropping him at the moment. One player you might have noticed absent in a lot of that recap was Martinelli. He's actually been injured ever since kind of the Christmas period. You can see he got injured on the 5th of January, sprained knee ligaments. Not an insignificant injury, but an injury that's kept him out the first team. Elsewhere, Andreas has had a little bit of an issue with an injury, although it's not impacted his development too much. It was just a minor twisted knee, out for a few days with that. But because of that, Emile Smith-Rowe is going to start on the left-hand side. And despite the fact we're playing Sheffield United today, given the fact we have got a week's break till the Man City game, and given the fact I want revenge for how they embarrassed us in the Carabao Cup, I'm going full strength. Anyway, let's see how we get on in this game. I'm hoping this is going to be straightforward, but games very rarely are. At the same time, it's sometimes nice just to play, I want to say, against slightly lesser calibre of oppositions, given the fact that in the last few episodes we've played against the likes of Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, Manchester United. Yeah, they're the big games that define our season, but sometimes it's nice just to batter the small guy, isn't it? I say all of this, they might be about to take the lead. Okay, I'll tell you what, I thank you, Ramsdale, for saving my embarrassment. I just realised, I talked about Tomiyasu being undroppable. I have actually dropped him for this game and given Mukiele his live commentary debut. I feel like this is a nice, easier game to give him a debut in, as opposed to one of the big Premier League games like the Man City game on the horizon. Also gives us a chance to see what he's capable of in this kind of game, as we're going to have a chance, we're going to score a goal. Odegaard with his 7th of the year. I was talking about his goal scoring. He's added it to his repertoire. He's doing it now, albeit against Sheffield United. You might have spotted it. I'm not playing XHAKA in this game today. The reason for that being is he's possibly on his way out the club. I didn't really plan on selling him. And of course, we've got to decide if we're definitely going to sell him and what replacement we might be able to bring in this episode, given the fact that deadline day is today. There could be some panic buys. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, he's complained about lack of first-team football. I don't really like to keep around players who are unhappy in FM, and I feel like he's quite replaceable. One man who isn't replaceable is Jesus, who very nearly scored there. Great save by the keeper to turn it over. We will have a corner still, though. Odegaard, he's been goal scorer. Can he turn provider? No, Emile Smith-Rowe can't head a football. So at the break in this game, pleased to report that unlike the Carabao Cup, we have managed to score. That said, it is only 1-0. I'm going to tell the players I'm far from pleased. We need to step things up. I want to make this more comfortable. And, well, given the fact we've got Man City to play in a week, and this is a largely first-choice team, it's not exactly a positive sign, is it? Mukiele making his debut. What can the right-back do for us? He's in possession, giving it inside to Odegaard, who's going to go for goal, and oh my word. I mean, Mukiele's got an assist on his debut. That's one of those goals where I'm not sure he should even be given an assist. Odegaard's created something from nothing there, gets his second goal of the game. On that left foot of his, he just finds the far corner, and in off the crossbar it goes. I mean, look at that. Couldn't have put it in a better spot. Top corner, keeper had no chance. No one is stopping that. We double our lead. Breathe a sigh of relief. Corner here. Martin Odegaard whipping it goalwards. Osborne heads it away, but only as far as Zinchenko, who does have a cannon of a left foot. And I'll tell you what, he's released the Kraken. He's unleashed the cannon. And this game is done. Tierney in possession, lays it to Emil Smith-Rowe, inside to Zinchenko. Lovely build-up play here. Look at the triangles, look at the passing and the movement, the fabric of the game. It's still alive and kicking. We're playing some pretty football here. Is there going to be some end product? XHAKA, one-on-one. There is an end product. Great finish. And, well, if it wasn't already over, it is over now. And you know what? With that goal, I'm going to make some changes. We're going to bring in Tomiyasu for some game time. Andre Santos can come in for Partey to make his live commentary debut. I'm unsure, actually, if we get more subs in this game. Okay, we do get more subs. I wasn't sure if we got extra ones or not. Andreas and Eddie Nketiah can come on too. 5 changes made. And, yeah, we're just going to give some of the youngsters some time now to play. Corner, Fabio Vieira whips it goalwards, headed away by Egan. Odegaard, of course, still on the pitch. I've kept him on because he's looking for the hat-trick. If he could get it, it would be nice, wouldn't it? Gabriel gives it to Tierney. Where is Martin? Find Martin. Just put it in the box for him. I know he can't head a ball, but maybe he can get on the end of it, given his current goal-scoring antics. Nketiah turns his man, going on a bit of a wander, gives it to Fabio Vieira, who unleashes a shot from range. It's 5-0 here, and I almost feel guilty. We have scored 4 goals in 13 minutes in this second half. It was a close game at one point. Sheffield United are crumbling before us, and with 20 minutes left, I kind of imagine they just want to get off the pitch. It's not been a good display for them, and it could, well, possibly get worse here, because Nketiah has possession, fresh legs, on off the bench, gets to the byline. Can he find a ball into the middle? He can. Odegaard's got his hat-trick. It's 6-0. This is one of those games where I now sit here and think, how did we lose to these 1-0 earlier on in the season? Especially because it was about a month ago, and it was a very similar team to this one, and it wasn't like it was a smash and grab by them. They just outplayed us. I don't know what happened on that day. I'm pleased to report, well, I think we're over it. I think this result has helped the healing process. I want 7. I'm getting greedy now. Andreas, can you get involved in the action, my friend? I mean, Odegaard's got a hat-trick now. He can turn provider. Andreas turns his man. Could lay it wide to Tierney, or could play it into Martin Odegaard, who scores a 4th for the game. I mean, this is just getting silly. I feel like every single highlight we've had in this second half has just resulted in a goal. If that trend continues, we could have an 8th. Maybe I'm getting a bit carried away here, but we've been absolutely mad. You know what? I think I am ready to play Man City now. Andreas, Fabio Vieira, dinks it forward, and Nketiah's there. Can he find himself on the score sheet? Of course he can. That, I think, completes the route. I think we are the baddies. I think this XG story really sums up the second half. We've scored 7 goals. We've only got an XG of 3.42. Everything that we touched turned into a shot, it felt like, and a shot that found the back of the net. In hindsight, maybe I didn't need to play a full strength 11 there. Off the back of that performance as well, Odegaard wants a new contract. Can you sack your agent, mate? You've scored 4 in the FA Cup and now you're asking for a new contract. You've scored against Sheffield United. If you score 4 against Man City, then I'll give him a new deal. Okay, now that we've demolished Sheffield United, I suppose we now have to think about transfer stuff. And you know what? I've got even more transfer stuff to think about because Nketiah has formally requested a transfer. There is some loan interest in him. I've actually set an asking price of £18 million for him. He is a player who I'm definitely not against selling. However, if I am going to sell him, I feel like we've got to get the right transfer offer in and one that offers the option to then obviously replace him. Reece Nelson is a player who I've promised I'm going to sell. No one wants to sign him, which is a bit of a problem. I say no one wants to sign him. There's one loan offer from Serie A. I don't think he wants that. And then finally, there's the XHAKA situation. £20 million is the amount of money we're set to receive. We get 100% of that. So we've got about, including the current transfer budget, £24 million to get in a replacement. Now you can see here, I have already set up a recruitment focus for a centre mid box-to-box midfielder, someone who could come in and do the XHAKA role. We're currently in the process of scouting some players. We don't have full knowledge on them. Given the fact the transfer window closes in 2 days' time, it's very, very unlikely we're going to get full knowledge on any of these players. So with that in mind, it might be a case of just looking through some of these options and seeing who's out there. Bizarrely, because Edu, I believe, is kind of our... Is he our director of football, Edu? Yeah, he is our director of football and technical director. But because we've got Edu, it feels like whenever I go out and scout players, they're all Brazilian. And, well, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that we have a very Brazilian-centric kind of scouting overview here of some of the players available. Just sorting the players by potential, there's a couple, I suppose, that catch my eye on potential alone. There is Andre here, who's a 21-year-old centre mid. He looks very, very good, to be fair. Elsewhere, there is Danilo, who plays for Palmeiras. Now, of course, Palmeiras have Endrick, who's a very, very good player in Football Manager, who maybe we end up signing down the line, but right now probably isn't an option. If we just compare Danilo with Andre Santos, who we've already signed, I think the 18-year-old is a better player. I feel like Andre Santos, actually, when it comes to star ratings, is massively underrated. He is given 2-star ability. If we just compare this man with XHAKA, I mean, you can see here, there's not a great deal to separate them. There is a small part of me that just wants to make Andre Santos the regular starter in our team at 18 years old. He's got natural fitness, he's consistent, apparently he's got Premier League potential, and apparently he's only a championship player right now. I just don't agree with that. I think our staffs have got his review wrong. With him being a new addition to the team, being a younger player, and also having a lower reputation, there is a higher, I suppose, degree of error in their judgment of him. Am I going crazy thinking Andre Santos could start for me? I mean, that all said, I probably still need to get in a player to replace XHAKA. So there's some players who are options here. Sandri is a player who I've used in Football Manager before. Very, very similar, actually, to Santos. There seems to be loads of these Brazilian centre mids who are a bit more defensive in nature and kind of deep line playmaker types. Of course, we do also have Thomas Partey at the team, who is a player who I think is massively overpaid for what he offers to our team. If we just compare him with Santos, I mean, if we just look at Santos, Santos is very good. I think I'm aboard the Santos hype train. It's worth noting, Thomas Partey, he's on £160,000 a week, which is absolutely mad. That has just jogged my memory. Side note, XHAKA has signed a new deal, as has, if I'm not mistaken, Martinelli. Actually, I'll tell a lie. Martinelli hasn't signed a new deal, but he had an optional kind of contract trigger that we could extend his contract by a season. So I have now done that despite his injury. I am also looking at centre mids in my own time. There's a couple of options here, like Jedson Fernandez, Sanderberg as well. Nicolas Dominguez can maybe be an option. He is a more technical kind of centre mid option. He's mega consistent, loves important matches. I've talked previously about how XHAKA is just this weird player who doesn't really suit a player role. What that does mean is if I want to sign a replacement, it becomes a bit more difficult to sign a direct replacement, the exact same mould of player. That said, what XHAKA offers technically, I think we already have in a lot of our midfielders in the attacking third. So alongside the likes of Zinchenko and Partey, and of course Andre Santos now, who I think we can add to that list, getting in just another engine into the midfield, someone who's not super technical, not necessarily mega creative, but works hard, probably isn't the worst idea in the world. A little bit of good news amongst the transfer chaos. Saliba has signed a new deal at the club. £80,000 a week, not an insignificant amount of money to be earning, but compared to what potentially he could have been asking for, I don't think it's too unreasonable. With his injury, I think that's probably put his expectations of salary in check. So a player who only had 2 years left on his previous deal is now here for the next 4.5 years. Now, this is really interesting. I haven't seen this before in Football Manager, but Barreiro was a player who I was looking at during my centre mid scouting process. I was having a look through some of the centre mid options available. I didn't actually send a scout to look at him because I decided that he was maybe a bit too much money. But the more I think about it, and some of the kind of more box-to-boxy players we've got, getting in a player who is a ball-winning midfielder specialist could be a really smart option. Barreiro here is phenomenal at winning back the ball. He's a little bit limited in what he can do on the whole, but within our team, obviously, we play with a ball-winning midfielder, and he can do this role absolutely immensely. He's 23 years old, and he plays for the Luxembourg national team. I don't think I've ever had a player from Luxembourg in one of my teams starting regularly before. But yeah, really interesting to see that his agent came to me and said, hey, you asked about my client's value. He wants to move to Arsenal. Can we make something happen? Apparently the asking price is 17 to 27 million. Obviously, XHAKA's leaving for about 20, so we can't afford a massive sum of money. That said, let's just submit an offer and see what Minds want. They have gone back to me with 22 million. I'm going to propose 18.5. I'll do it in installments. I'll do 3 installments totaling 10 million and 10 million up front. See what they say to that. They want a tiny bit more. Can we do 11 and 10 million? We can. Okay, well, this is interesting because I don't necessarily think we have a great ball-winning midfielder option. Obviously, we brought in Viagra, who I was kind of hoping can maybe be that option, but hasn't perhaps lived up to that billing. Barriello is not a slouch technically and is quite good on the ball. He has decent composure. His off-the-ball movement is solid, albeit not great. I do quite like the idea of him. I'm going to need to prioritise the scout report on him. And, well, for people who don't know, if you go to Recruitment Focus Scout Priorities, you can see here all the players that we're scouting. Barriero is at the bottom of this list. You can click Prioritise Assignments, and now he is a top priority for our scouts. Hopefully they're going to come back with some info on him before the transfer window, which closes in 2 days' time. Minds would like to loan Barriero back. No. Now, despite the fact that we've not got a scout report in yet, I am just going to offer him a contract just to try and get the wheels moving on this. We can delay the deal as late as need be. Of course, this is all working on the assumption that XHAKA does decide to leave the club. I'm going to ask him if he wants to sign a 4-year deal on £65,000 a week. He wants 3 years. Can we get it down to 65? Can we get it down to 68? 68,000? I should have just done 69 for the memes. But yeah, I really like the look of him actually as a ball-winning option. I'm curious to see what the scouts say. Knowing my luck, it'll come back that he's inconsistent, injury-prone, and there's going to be all these red flags. But if there's lots of green flags, we'll make something happen. Apparently, Brighton want XHAKA on loan. I need the money now. I can't loan him out because I need to sign in a XHAKA replacement. A little bit of FA Cup news. If you thought the game against Sheffield United was sexy, the football sexiness in terms of attractive fixtures is going up a level. We've got Stoke away. Okay, deadline day is here. We're going to take part in it. Everything's going to go yellow. Hopefully, the XHAKA deal goes through. I mean, what would be really anticlimactic now is if he just turns down the option to go and play in Spain. And as a result of that, nothing that we've planned for today's episode actually happens. Okay, the XHAKA deal has been confirmed. £20.5 million. We're going to receive £19 million of that into the transfer budget. And elsewhere, I can see some news here. Barriello's work permit has been confirmed. I can ask to delay the transfer, which, of course, I can't afford it right now because XHAKA hasn't quite left us. I just want to find out what's happening with scout reports. I am going to confirm the XHAKA sale. Even if we weren't to sign anyone in, I don't necessarily feel like it's a big weakening of our team. Letting him go, maybe that's going to be famous last words. Saka wants to know why XHAKA was let go. Can you solve this for me, please, Martin? He can't. Right, Saka, let's have a chat, mate. What's up? I'm not happy about that Granit's been allowed to leave, but we can talk about it another time. I mean, mate, it's deadline day. I'm busy. I'm wheeling and dealing. I don't want to discuss these things with you. I don't think I'm going to get any information on Barriero before the deadline day conclusion. So the question is, do I sign him, and I think he is a really good option, or with 9 hours left of the transfer window, do we maybe look at some of the centre mid options, which we were scouting in progress, and apparently none of them were recommended to us? Brilliant. I might live to regret it. I think I'm going to have to confirm the signing of him without scouting him, which is not something I recommend doing at home, but I have backed myself into a corner where I feel like that is the only course of action. I've just realised I've not had any bids for Nketiah or Reece Nelson. I'm going to offer them out and try and get them moves, but I just don't see there being any interest in them, to be honest. In January, first season, teams just don't have that much money to spend. You know what? There's 5 hours left. I'm not going to get any more knowledge on Barriero before the deadline day is over. With that in mind, I'm going to ask for confirmation, get this signing done. 11 million... rising to 21 million for a player who I've not been able to fully scout. I don't know exactly what he's capable of, but on the face of it, I think he's going to be a good option to have at centre mid. Offers us a real specialist player in the ball-winning midfielding kind of area of the pitch. Not necessarily the XHAKA replacement, but I didn't feel like we had to replace him with a new signing. Okay, we're less than an hour left of deadline day. I think we are all said and done. Nketiah still at the club. Reece Nelson still at the club. There was some late interest in El Neni. It was a loan deal from Brighton that I was never really going to consider. With that all said and done, we've now got to prepare for Man City in just a few days' time. I'm going to have to register a few of our new signings, including Mukiele, who I don't think is yet registered for the Premier League. You guys can let me know what you think of the Barriero transfer. Who knows? Maybe he's going to make his debut in 3 days' time. We are going to be taking on Man City away from home. Let's see how we get on, shall we? Okay, folks, first versus second, taking on Man City at the top of the table. I will say at this point in the video, if you are enjoying things today, if you like the little transfery segment we just did, slap a like on the video today. Today's video has taken longer than any episode so far in this series to put together. There's been quite a lot going on. Hopefully it's going to end on a high against City. For this game, I was going to give our new boy Barriero a debut, and then he got injured, so yeah, he can't play today. He's on the bench. What that does mean, though, is that Andre Santos is the man going to come in and play as the ball-winning midfielder for us. It's not a role he's ready-made for, but sometimes within a Football Manager system, players have to compromise their role to play within a role that works for the rest of the team. I do feel like the ball-winning midfielder is really important to how we operate. You might have noticed Thomas Partey also unavailable for this game. He has been out with a cold. I sent him home because I didn't want him to infect the rest of the squad. Sadly for us, it means he's not available today. Elsewhere in the team, not too much else going on. Tomiyasu is going to start at right back. Tierney, our new vice-captain. With XHAKA leaving, we needed a replacement. This man is that replacement in the leadership role. He is going to be starting over on the left-hand side. Elsewhere, Emil Smith-Rowe is currently out on the left with Martinelli out injured. But you know what? Emil Smith-Rowe, I like you. I don't love you. I love Andreas. In his last 5 games, he's been in some great form. You can see he's been a really top performer. Good performance against Sheffield United. Against Newcastle, he got a goal and an assist. Prior to that, he got an assist against Leicester. This man, the young player of the month in the Premier League for January, is starting on the left-hand side. Now, of course, last time we took on Man City, Andreas put them to the sword. When I look at their team, it's quite scary. They've got Rafa Leao in their team. When did they sign Rafa Leao? They've bought him for 89 million in January. Somehow I missed that. I guess Erling Haaland wasn't enough for them. That really does put things in perspective, doesn't it? As I'm selling XHAKA and buying Barriero, Man City just go out and sign Rafa Leao for £89 million. Looking at the rest of their team, they have got a few tired players, Man City. They were playing in the Carabao Cup semi-final midweek. We had a nice long rest, so we are more refreshed than them. Away from home, though, it's going to be tricky. You might have noticed I am deciding for this game to not play with a defensive midfielder. That because, much like last time we took on Man City, they're not playing with a number 10. Anyway, first highlight of the game here at the Etihad. Man City in possession, looking to build it out from the back. Rafa Leao inside, of course, to Erling Haaland, who is dispossessed by Ben White. Hopefully Ben White can keep Erling Haaland pocketed this game. And now it's XHAKA, who, just as a reminder, wasn't at the World Cup. I'm still not over it. Well, he did have the ball on the right-hand side. He's now been dispossessed. And now Man City looking to bring the ball forward here. Rafa Leao playing it forward to Haaland. Can Ben White stop him again? Forces him inside to Kevin De Bruyne. Goes back to Haaland. Dispossessed, but not successfully. Rafa Leao keeps the possession in favour of Man City. Ball given away. Ben White again reading it well, but this time runs into some trouble. He's out of position. And with that, Erling Haaland finds the bottom corner and makes it 1-0. Unless VAR is going to intervene. Dear VAR, please help me. Amen. Can you save me from Erling Haaland? No, is the answer. Man City take the lead in this game. Ben White caught out of position. A rush of blood to the head after he got that interception. Saw him leave loads of space behind. And Erling Haaland has punished us. 15 minutes left of this first half. We've not created nearly enough. You can see here, 0 shots on target, 2 shots total. That said, Man City aren't having a load of opportunities of their own. What I will say is they are having a lot of the ball. Although, you know what? Momentum for 1 minute, well, it was in our favour. It's not in our favour anymore, and now Man City are on the attack. Undeniably, we need to make some changes at the break. Hopefully, I'm not going to live regretting kind of waiting out to half-time as well. Kyle Walker has an effort on goal. Maybe it's generous to call that a shot. That was awful. At the break in this game, we find ourselves a goal down. We've not been good enough here. I am going to change some stuff up. In terms of what we're going to change, I'm very, very tempted to, well, go to the more kind of defensive system. Play Andre Santos in the centre defensive mid area of the pitch. Although he's not the best player defensively, given our current injury situation, I think he is our best option. I'm going to take off Ben White as well and bring in Saliba. Ben White was responsible for the goal that they scored. He's not been good enough today. Saliba and Ben White kind of battling it out, I feel like, for the centre-back area. You can see here, Ben White, definitely a more complete centre-back, but Saliba, better physicals, better aerial ability for a centre-back. I feel like Gabriel this year, as kind of the left-sided centre-back, has kind kind of made this position his own. Recently signed a new deal with the club as well, which was great to see. You might remember he was a tad unhappy last episode. But yeah, we need to change things up in this game. I think going to a 4-3-3 maybe allows us to do that a little bit more. Going to be interesting to see how we get on. Of course, with this 4-3-3, we like to play a little bit narrow with it and play through the middle. We're looking to be nice and compact. I'm hoping that maybe we can overwhelm them in that kind of middle area of the pitch. Runs from deep from Zinchenko and Odegaard can cause them some problems. And well, we'll see if our fortunes turn around in this half. Right now, 7 minutes in, not feeling too optimistic. Just looking at the match momentum, you can see it above my head. I don't know why this panel is bright blue. Is that the same for everyone's Football Manager? Apparently, we've had a little bit of momentum to start this half. Hopefully, it can continue here, as we are going to be on the attack. XHAKA to Jesus. And you know what? It might be coming against the run of play. We are going to take it. It is 1-1 here. Jesus saves our bacon. It took 11 minutes into the second half for us to find a breakthrough. Gabriel to Andre Santos. This switch of play by the centre defensive mid. For an 18-year-old, that's an outrageous ball. The pass inside, really nice too. The finish at the end of it, not too shabby either. Is anyone getting flashbacks to last time we took on Man City? Started the game slowly, went a goal down, came back to win 2-1. I thought for a second I was about to completely jinx it immediately. They've headed over the bar. It's 1-1 still here. With half an hour played, maybe that will make some changes. Zinchenko has picked up a knock. I'm going to have to make a change here. I'm going to bring in Barriero to play as the defensive midfielder. I know he's got a little bit of a knock, but he can play. It'll be fine. Andre Santos is going to move up the pitch. Elsewhere, Andreas has not had a day to remember. I'm going to take him off and bring in Emil Smith-Rowe. Besides that, I'm going to hold on to our last two changes for now. Tomiyasu at right back. Back in the team, a hat-trick of assists in our previous league game. Sat out the Sheffield United game, but the player we've chosen to keep some faith in today. And while speaking of fullbacks, Tierney's on the other side, giving it inside to Andreas. Our subs haven't happened yet. Maybe it's going to be a good job they've not happened yet. And I'll tell you what, it absolutely is. Andreas involved in the build-up play. Tierney on the overlap, puts it on a plate. And Gabby Jesus is there for his second goal of the game against his former club. He's taking this personally. We were a goal down. Suddenly, we're 2 goals to the good. You have to wonder, are Man City's midweek games catching up with them? The fact they were in the Carabao Cup semi-final, has that left them a little bit tired? Their players look pretty exhausted on the pitch. I'm going to make the changes anyway, in terms of bringing in Barrieros and also bringing in Emil Smith-Rowe. Hopefully, we're not going to live to regret it immediately. Man City having a lot of chances from set pieces. They've hit the crossbar there. 20 minutes left of this game. The XG between the two teams is very, very close. We've taken the few chances that came our way. To be fair, we've limited Man City to speculative set-piece chances for the most part. Not long left to see out in this game. With 15 minutes left, a second goal for us could be the killer blow. And it could come here. It is going to come here. It's from one Englishman on the left to an Englishman on the right. Emil Smith-Rowe with the ball over to XHAKA, the sub, making an instant impact out on that left-hand side. Really, really nice goal. And we've exploited the wide areas of Man City's team here. Playing a narrow system kind of forces them all inside. Our wing-backs have had a lot of joy in the wider areas on the overlap. Again, involved in the build-up play there. XHAKA this time converts the finish. It's 3-1. There's 10 minutes left. I don't want to get too carried away here. We might be about to beat Man City and go top of the league. Man City starting to throw a few men forward. We're going to time waste just a little bit and try and slow down the game here. With 5 minutes left, I just want to kill off this game. Barriero gives it to Odegaard, who gives it to Jesus. The changes haven't yet happened, and well, they can happen now. That finish, lacking. What a turnaround this has been again by us. With 4 minutes of added time, I think that is game, set, and match. This is game done. We are going to do the double over Man City and over Pep this year. It finishes 3-1 here. Emil Smith-Rowe with a great impact on off the bench. XHAKA with a goal. Gabby Jesus with 2. Andre Santos apparently only got a 6.5. I stand by my previous statements in earlier episodes that sentiments just don't get good ratings. He was my man of the match. And it's not just because I'm a biased fanboy or anything. I feel like I should be updating my Twitter to be an Andre Santos stan account or something. You know, it could be Andre Santos fan 111. I don't know. Where are we going with this? I'll tell you where we're going. We're going to the top of the table. 3 points clear of Man City with a game in hand. I said Arteta had achieved pretty special things at Arsenal in real life, having them at the top of the table. Turns out I'm just as good as Arteta. Good job, me. Zinchenko's going to be out for a few days, but I think we can manage without him. Barriero had a debut. It was a rather quiet one in the end. Ultimately, Saka was the man of the moment. He did get man of the match, and with that, we get a massive result elsewhere. Leeds absolutely annihilated Manchester United. Yeah, a little bit embarrassing for Man UFC. I'm not entirely sure how we keep doing this and just beating Man City, but here we are. We're winning games. We're playing some good football. 11 goals scored in 2 matches today. Not too shabby. Looking ahead to our upcoming games, we've got a lot of fixtures coming thick and fast. The Europa League round of 16 is only a few weeks away. It's going to be happening in the middle of March, which is going to coincide, I believe, with our youth intake. Look at this preview. An excellent intake, a sea of A's. Next time out, Europa League is on the menu, as is probably our youth intake. Hopefully we're going to have some good players. Hopefully I see you guys next time to see who comes up in our next batch of players. Until then, take it easy. As I said earlier, hope you enjoyed today's episode. A little bit of a different one in terms of vibe, tempo, and how it's been edited. Maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Besides that, I'll see you again tomorrow. Take it easy.